Hello. Hello, beautiful people. Courtney here with Stars of the Morning Light. This is where we study ancient texts. Stars of the Morning Light is also a platform you can Google for any spiritual resources you might need. We'll be talking a little bit about what I do also today. It is so good to be with you guys. I'm kind of a day late doing this, but that is okay. 3D has been having her way with us all for a while now and just keeps amping up. And I realized I was being so affected this week, which also means that I was not aligned. Something within me was completely out of sync. So I needed to take some time. And also, today we're talking about the ego. The rabbit holes, let's say, that I started going into that completely, does it all, is everything connected? Yes. But did I have to go that deep? No, that was my own journey for hopefully a later date with us. It was wild. It was wild this week. So, if you're now just joining, watching Stars of the Morning Light, please go back and watch from the beginning, because all of this, we are still at just the basic fundamentals of stuff, so we can get into the heart and the meat of the matter as we go. But all of this is going to be, overlapping itself. So please go back and begin with third dimension, because I'm going to refer to third dimension a lot as error, as the fog, as forgetfulness, as 3D density. So, and I'm sure many of us experienced a lot of her action this past week. Today we're talking about the ego. And the next episode is going to be about the soul. I believe when I go to talk about the soul, in a lot of ways, it's going to be actually more about our mental, mixed in with some soul aspects, because when you go into ancient texts, there is not a single one that truly identifies what the soul is. I mean, when we're in Thoth, we found we're stars, we're, the flame within, as we spoke about last week. But because we're studying, or at least trying to get there, in the Kabbalion, the first principle of the Hermetic teachings is all is mind. We are still just at the basics, so when we do keep going. So I think next week is going to be a whole lot more of like how the brain works and our self-identity, and in relation to the soul, the flame, the ego, see how this works. But I do want you guys to know that below, I'm going to attach a bunch of stuff this week. And one of them is, I guess it would have been like the precursor to me doing this, is in my meditation podcast, which is free on my website, starsofthemorninglight.com. There's a few episodes in there that are of me just discussing stuff. So if you want to, prior to us talking in this one little hour segment next week about mental and soul and mind, there's a 3-part series, and I'll put a link below, and it's the I, We, One series that goes into the functions of our brain, how we process things to the subconscious, in regard to our self-identity, in regard to we are all connected. So if you want, I'll leave the link below. It's a great thing to maybe listen to prior to coming next week. So let's dig in. Oh, it's so good to see you. Anyways, so we are doing the all is mind. The universe is mental. It's the first Hermetic principle. Remember that the underlining theme to all of this right now is overcoming forgetfulness. And last week we talked so much about our inner flame. how when we find that, the source that is connected to the Father, Gaia, all of it, when we find that, that is the most potent force, that we can use that to overcome all 3D, all of it. So overcoming forgetfulness, because we have all forgotten about that flame. And as the Nag Hammadi scriptures say, do I have those for people that haven't seen it yet? As these would explain, so as soon as the Father, Source, comes to be known, we no longer forget. Forgetfulness will cease to be. So, meaning that 3D density, as we talked about in the first episode. If you have not seen the first episode, please go back. None of this will even matter if you don't go back to that. To get through it, we need to remember. And we talked last week, like I said, about the inner flame. Now we're going to talk about the ego. I'm going to tell you, I'm actually not going to use that many texts, because, and all week I was like going back and forth in my brain about different texts and this and that, and I was like, I'm losing my main focus. And so I really needed to just keep it simple, and for me that's sometimes very difficult. And I do want to give a shout out. My girlfriend Kay sent me one of those ring lights and a phone holder. Thank you, Kay. Because I don't have a lot of light in my house. So, and she knows this. So thank you. I hope everyone can see me much better. All right, so we all know essentially that being a human being, we have a thing called the ego in us. And I'm never going to try to disrespect your intelligence. And so a lot of this is going to be basic stuff, because I know that you're intelligent, and I know that you're in the process of remembering, and that all wisdom is within. So I'm not going to insult your intelligence, but we do want to just give a shout out to Carl Jung, who really dug deep into the ego. He came after and was really influenced by like Freud and Nietzsche. I was heavy into Carl Jung and Nietzsche in my early 20s, like just heavy into it. And when I went to grab the material, I realized, oh, I must have given this to somebody. So I just grabbed a couple of his quotes, because we all fundamentally know, yeah, we got an ego. And if we can't identify it in ourselves, then we definitely identify it in somebody else, right? Oh, yeah. And there's reasons why. So just so you know, Carl Jung also he lived from like 1875 to, I actually wrote down 1961. So really a pioneer in what we would call like the analytical psychology, which I'm a fan of. I will also say, during this episode, any of these episodes, if you feel like something has resonated and you need to seek further help, I will always say, go to counseling. Counseling, I've gone through many rounds of counseling in my life, and some vastly needed and profound. I am an advocate for counseling, so if anything does come up, because when we're talking about the ego, there's going to be maybe some stuff that comes up. There ain't no shame in counseling, man. There ain't no shame in getting better, right? So, these are just some of Carl Jung's quotes on the ego. The first half of life, so our developmental years, is devoted to forming a healthy ego. The second half is going inward and letting go of it. So you will hear me, and you will hear maybe other people, when we're looking at stuff and how we operate during our day. I teach a shadow work course that's usually a span of like 4 months of me like really working with people. Um, and oftentimes I will talk about how it's three things that are really driving us, or all, before we cleanse a lot of it away. It's our inner child, our ego, and fear. All three of those things really operate within each other. A lot of it is. And all of it is really based on fear of survival, of whatever trauma we went through as a child. He even says the first half of life is devoted to forming a healthy ego. Well, if you're anything like me, and I'm sure many of us are, the first part of my life was completely chaotic and a mess. I did not develop a healthy ego. My ego was way off balance, way over the top, and it was all based out of my inner child, the child that did get damaged, in a protective mode. All three of them will really operate: fear, inner child, ego. They will all, for the majority of adults, as he says, the second half is going inward and letting go of it. That's why I bring up counseling. So as adults, what we're supposed to do is we need to work through that trauma, work through the fears, work through all this stuff so we can rebalance our ego, communicate and work with our inner child, and kind of start parenting our inner child, which many of us need, and remove the fears that may be justified and fears that aren't justified. Okay? So this will all make sense as we move forward. And once again, I know you guys know this, but it's a nice reminder, because we often also have to remind ourselves that other people are experiencing and walking through life with their ego and inner child and fears leading the way. Another quote is, "An inflated consciousness is always egocentric, the conscience of nothing but its own existence." So an inflated, grandiose consciousness is always driven by the ego and doesn't know any other existence other than that. It is incapable of learning from the past, incapable of understanding contemporary events, and incapable of drawing right conclusions about the future. Wow, doesn't that sound like the time we live in? It's hypothesized by itself and therefore cannot be argued with. It eventually dooms itself to calamities that must strike it dead. That's a quote from Carl Jung. That sounds like the time we're living in. People aren't learning from the past. They're incapable of understanding contemporary events and incapable of drawing right conclusions about the future. And you can't argue when someone's in their ego. You can't argue with them. There's an old saying that's like, you can't argue with a drunk. It's the same thing. You can't argue with an ego, Another quote, "Even the enlightened person remains what he is and is never more than his own limited ego before the one who dwells within him." I'm going to keep reading. Whose form has no knowable boundaries, who encompasses him on all sides, fathomless as the abyss of the earth and vast as the sky. This quote is talking about even the enlightened people, remains what he is, and is never more than his own limited ego before the one who dwells within him. So until we really connect with that flame, the ego still drives so much of what we do. So much. Man is what he is. Unless, right? Unless, and then he starts talking about that one who dwells within him. He's talking about the flame, whose form has no knowable boundaries, who encompasses him on all sides, formless as the abyss of the earth and vast as the sky. He's talking about our inner flame, the light within. But if man doesn't tap into that, all he's going to know is his ego. You know, we got to have compassion here for ourselves and others. Another quote. And see, if you haven't listened to the previous episode, please go back. Only life lived in a certain spirit is worth living. It is a remarkable fact that a life lived entirely from the ego is dull, not only for the person himself, but for all concerned. Yeah, there is no true living in the ego. Midlife is the time to let off the... Sorry, that read very interesting. Midlife. I'm pretty much midlife. I'm a little bit over midlife, but I'm pretty much midlife. Pretty much, and a lot of these listeners are pretty much midlife. Midlife is the time to let off an over-dominant ego and to contemplate the deeper significance of the human experience. So it is. It's time to let it go. Because it's dominant. He even says over-dominant ego. And then there's one more. The experience of the self is always a defeat for the ego. So, but that's our intent right now. That's our intent right now. The experience of the self is always a defeat for the ego. So, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. You're not ever going to get rid of your ego. I'm going to go into really how you're not. It's the difference between, is your ego cleansed? Is it balanced? Is it working for you and not against you? So, like, is the ego in the back seat or is it driving the car? Because your ego needs to be there. I mean, our ego is there for, yes, safety. It's our ego that says, oh, I don't know about that guy. Because ego and intuition also are connected. But when you're way out of balance, it's not good. It don't jive. So when it's fear-based, when it's survival-based, and that is what we're living, that is an over-dominant ego. We have to put ego back in its place. We need to cleanse it. We need to balance it. We need to say, you serve me, the self. You are not myself. I am flame. I am the star. I am light. I am love. I am way more than my ego. And it is a defeat to the ego because the ego, once it is running the show, it wants to keep you in all bad habits. It wants to keep you, it operates like 3D. It operates like 3D. Negative, bondage, chains. It operates like 3D. And then what's so interesting about it is that our ego is the one that wants to fight 3D. It's a lose-lose battle, you know? So we got to put our ego back in its place. That's what we're mainly talking about here. So we can open up. We talked about it in the last episode about how we have to let go of our conceptions, let go of our previous beliefs, let go of all of this stuff. Because when we don't, we are incapable of learning from the past, incapable of understanding contemporary events, incapable of drawing right conclusions about the future. So, why don't we take care of that ego? Everybody fundamentally understands this. But I want to say something here. I do, and it's a service you can find on my website. Actually, I'm running a deal right now. You know what? You're going to be the first to hear about it. I'm running a deal of 22% off anyone who books through December and the end of January for Akashic Record readings, and I'm going to throw the timeline cleanses into it. So, you're the first to find out. So you can go to my website and book that. 22% off is pretty good. What I do, it's quantum healing, and it's timeline cleanses, because we have stuff that we're even dealing with from past lives and current lives. And so when I get in there, it's not that I just wipe it all clean and as if it never happened. But what we do, and I'm going to kind of have you picture an image here, what I do, and I say we, because your higher self is there working with me, along with other possible celestial beings. Think of your timelines as a spiral, okay? They just spiral, okay? They never end. It's just a spiral. And I'll go in there, well, I'll go there, let's just say that. And your higher dimensional self is there with me. And we will clean out the trauma, the rough spots, the darkness, the stuff that needs to go. And here's a law of the universe, cause and effect and other things. You can never take something away without putting something back. You can never take something away without replacing it. So I'm there cleaning and cleaning. And you're there because you will know what is the positive thing, positive symbol, memory, anything that needs to fill those holes. Okay? The whole point of me saying this right now, though, in relation to the ego, is while we're doing this, your current timeline, I will always be able to see how it is connected to Mother Gaia, because we are of her. And I will be able to see, in relation to each other, your soul, your flame, and your ego. And some people's egos, all this is right here. And I'm going to tell you, that is not ever really a good thing that I want to see. I want your ego to be somewhere away from your flame and your soul. The soul and the flame are usually always somewhere connected or close together. But I don't want the ego right on top of it. You know what I mean? So that's usually a conversation I have to have with your higher self. That ego needs to be out here somewhere. Why I'm saying this is because we can't get rid of the ego. The ego will always be present in a human form. And we're not going to go back to being animals. It's not going to happen. Because we are at a conscious level. We've already lived so many lives. So that ego is always going to be present. It is in relation to who's running the show. Is the ego like right on top of your flame and your soul actually, moving you along in life? Or is it trailing behind as it should be? You see what I'm saying? Just to look out to see if you're safe ahead. That's all it should do. So, I know that sounded kind of wild, but it's a service that I do. I've been doing it for a long time. It's a very nice thing. But I wanted to bring it up because I think people have this concept that they can just get rid of their ego. That's not true. We can't just get rid of it. It's a part of who we are. but we can cleanse it and we can balance it. And at the end of this show, I'm going to teach us how, okay? So even to go to some nice things, again, back to my tablets. Oh, guys, you're gonna know these tablets inside and out, which is great because remember, they are before the Hermetic principles. Hermes is him, supposedly. So if you can get this down, guys, aces. You got it. You got it. So the emerald tablets. And this is just to, I think, have a nice little refresher of stuff. Just to remember. Page 13. I'm all supposed to be at page 13. And, oh, yeah, this is just to inspire us. Follow thine heart during thy lifetime. See, it's our ego is normally driving, and we got to follow our heart. Do thou more than is commanded of thee. That's just a nice little thing to remember. Follow thy heart. And we're going to be able to start doing that. We are. Page 20. Sorry, I didn't mark it well enough. Know, old man, that light is thy heritage. That's our birthright, is light. Know that darkness is only a veil. Sealed in thy heart is brightness eternal, waiting the moment of freedom to conquer, waiting to rend the evil of the night. Oh my gosh, such hope. Our birthright is light. Our birthright, our heritage, is not an over-dominating ego. But on page 21, it says, know ye not, old man, of your heritage. He's saying you don't even know this stuff. You don't know. Know ye not, ye are truly the light. He's saying, wake up, guys. Let's get out of the forgetfulness. Son of the great sun, when ye gain wisdom, and it's spelled sun like the sun above, but we will learn later that that's also in terms of like what we're going to start celebrating at Yule. Son of the great sun, when ye gain wisdom, truly aware of your kinship with light. I just wanted to throw that out there. To have hope. He's even saying back then, folks, that we're in forgetfulness, that we forget that we're of light. I mean, our egos have been driving for so long, for so long. I'm going to start talking about why. So, once again, I'm not going to insult your intelligence. We're going to start talking about the 3 first chakras. So I went from Carl Jung to Thoth to now chakras, which, once again, we all generally know what the chakras are. I want to talk about the first 3. If you want to know where they originated from, it is from, well, India, but I never put this right because it's really the Veda, but they call it the Vedas with an S because it's multiple different teachers. But those ancient teachings were written, what is it? It was 1500 to 1000 BC. It was well long ago. But that's where the first idea of the chakras are. the energy sources and the energy that moves throughout the body, okay? Why am I going to talk about the first three? Because I will tell you, the ego lives and sustains itself really in those three. So, and I have a little, you guys I'm sure have all seen this. So, the first one, okay, this is, oh, it's got a horrible glare. Your first chakra is, you can call it the root chakra. I will also be posting there below. I have an awesome, amazing, didn't come from me, came from celestial beings, a root chakra cleanse meditation to clean that root chakra out. I will attach that as well. Going on, the root chakra, that is your sexuality, that is your safety, that is your human needs, your survival. It also is the part of you that you use for grounding. And remember in the last video, we talked about how we had to go down to Gaia for her to come back up to meet our flame. Flame ascends onto flame, the sun, the higher celestial beings, or higher celestial realm. So we also need that to be cleansed and clean so we can have really good grounding and go down to Gaia and receive from her flame of life, her flower, and bring it back up to our flame. So that's your root chakra. Really, please listen to that meditation. Then we got this, what would be maybe the spleen chakra. That's your ovaries, your kidneys, you know, urinary stuff, okay? That is where your mental energy comes from. Hold on to that thought, okay? Because we're going to jump into that in a minute. That is where your mental energy comes from. Your will, your power, control, self versus others, your beliefs that we have to let go of, your constructive points of view versus like self-criticism, your thoughts, your thoughts live down there. Okay, but I'm gonna hold on. Then let's just move to your solar plex because we're only looking at the three, right? The first three. Your solar plex, which is right up in here, kind of like the stomach area. That is your pancreas, your stomach, your liver, your digestion. Okay, that is your, oh, I'm sorry, I changed it up. Your second chakra is your like emotional needs. Like, I'm so sorry, I changed that up. Your emotional needs, your boundaries, your trust, your intimacy, your attachments, even joy, pain, like all the emotional stuff. So we got the grounding for the root. We got your emotional needs down by your ovaries and, you know, areas of that. Then, and your kidney. And then you got your solar plex, geez. That is your stomach, liver, digestion, mental energy. I am so sorry. That is your will, your power. That's what was throwing me off. Will, power, control, self versus others, benefits, construction. So, I'm going to stop looking at my notes because it's not like I don't know what I'm talking about. So, I'm a Reiki master teacher. Our second chakra is called our hara in that line of energy work. And I refer to it as our little engine that could. Okay? And so we have to ground into Gaia. Our hara is where that shit comes back up. We bring the energy down and then that is what flows it. Okay? That's our little area of where our engine that could goes. That is also where our emotional needs are. But it's emotional everything. It's the positive and the negative. Then our solar plex, I call that is where our powerhouse is. That's where our power comes from. And it is our mental thought. It is where we tend to be self versus others, this and that. That is where our ego lies. I'm going to go a little bit more into that when we go into the cleanse, okay? But I want to bring up real quick. And remember, guys, this is all so we can rebalance, cleanse ourselves, so we can get down to Gaia, have her bring that light back up, that flame energy back up, so we can meet our flame. I do want to bring up some stuff that's interesting. So, when I have to do energy work and just in general, I can't eat that much when I do energy work, because you gotta think, I gotta have all this energy flowing through these chakras, through my hara, my little engine that could, which is my second chakra, through my solar plex chakra. I gotta have all this stuff moving, right? So I can't eat that much. And it's like, why are you bringing this up, Courtney? So we're gonna go to some parts of the King James Version, King James Bible, because I know I had mentioned it before, how I am going to do short little videos about terms and vocabulary, how our words have changed a lot. Here's an example. So from Philip 1:2, this is the King James Version, I keep saying that wrong, of the Bible. Yea, brother, let me have joy of thee in the Lord. Refresh my bowels in the Lord. Galatians 3:12. Put on therefore, as the sect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long-suffering. John 1:3-17, which most people do know, because there's a million people with it tattooed on them. But whoso whoso hath this world's good, meaning whoso has good wealth, okay, and seeth his brother have need, and shutteth up his bowels from him, how dwelleth the love of God in him? So in new variations, geez, I can't even say that word. All of these say bowels. And the new ones, they change bowels to heart. Or like bowels of mercy is clothe yourself with compassion. Bowels, again, with, if you have money and you see your brother in need and you shut your bowels to him, which in new variations, it's heart. Going back to the chakras. This is all interconnected, remember? So, first chakra, second chakra, third chakra. Where are our bowels, people? So, all throughout the Old Testament and New Testament, okay, it is referred to as our mental state, our emotional state, our heart. Like, where's your compassion? Where's your love? Where are your thoughts? Where are your emotions? Where is it? It is all always referred to as your bowels, because they're really talking about the first three chakras. Okay? Um, Real quick, this is why I want to start doing short videos about how vocabulary has changed. In the Galatians 1, it says, long suffering. Put on, therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, bowels of mercies, kindness, humbleness of mind, meekness, long suffering. In today's, it says patience. I want to be very clear, especially when we do start talking about the word, and that's why I think I have to do small little videos to help people understand how much vocabulary has changed. So I've met a lot of people that go, oh, I prayed to God to have some patience, and I probably shouldn't have done that. This is a doozy. For me, I always go, yeah, what the hell is wrong with you? Because patience means long suffering. I don't want long suffering. Right. So, I'm just throwing that out there. That would be a little snippet of what will come when I start talking about vocabulary. Back to the chakras, people. Let's do this. So, and all of my lovely, lovely listeners that are 80s babies, that grew up in the 80s, this is the truth about the Care Bear stare. Just so you know, I love the Care Bear stare. I imagine if we could all just know our flame and do that, that would, oh, 3D would cease. So we're going to clean. We're going to clean and balance our ego. I'm going to teach you where it is, how to do it. I have to do this. Sometimes I'm doing okay. Other times I have to do this on a regular basis. On a very regular basis. Especially when the density of 3D and error herself is just running amok. I have to cleanse my own ego, so my ego is not dominant and driving the car. Like, instead my light can, my flame can. So, you got your root chakra. Please go listen to that meditation. That is all about survival. That is your survival, but it is also your grounding. So, if you're anything like me, my survival was way overloaded growing up in my developmental years. So, and everything was like survival to me. Everything, every conversation was a survival. As I became an adult. So that needs to start being cleansed. Imagine now that, because energy moves upward, we're going down to Gaia and we're bringing it up. So our second one is our emotional. And our third one is our mental, but that is also where the ego lives. So I'm hoping you can see this. I might sit back some. So imagine in here, in your solar plex chakra, this is your powerhouse, guys. It's your core. If that's the way you need to look at it, it's your core. It is, as everyone talks about, get your core straight. You'll be better off altogether. So, your ego, you can also imagine, lives there. Your intuition's also in there, but it's a bit lower in the second chakra. See how all of this comes together? So your ego lives there, in your powerhouse, where you need that power. You need that power. That's your mental state, and your will, your self-control, your idea of self in a lot of ways. And remember, all these ancient texts refer to as your heart was there, in your guts, in your bowels. Don't we want it to be cleansed and good and right size? So yes, we need to eat right. So imagine, just take this journey with me, okay? Imagine you're picturing a sphere, like as if it was a like a moving sphere, your chakra, okay? Picture like your sphere in your solar plex. And it's good. That's your power. It's lovely. Now, go a little bit more in, and you will see another sphere. And this is all, close your eyes and imagine. You will see another sphere inside of that sphere. That is your ego. Look at it. What's it look like? Is it dark and mucky and not healthy? Is it black and you can just feel how it's not happy? It's not good. It's off balance. Right? Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to imagine. I'm going to give everybody a minute. Let's put our feet to the ground, guys. We are going to imagine that we are allowing Gaia to bring energy up from the earth. If you need to picture roots coming down from your feet, that's fine. She's going to bring that energy up our legs. And this is just me teaching. I'm not bringing you fully through this. You're going to have to do it on your own. She's going to bring that energy up and up and up, up past the root chakra, past your second chakra, to that third chakra to help you. And you and Gaia's light start rubbing that ego clean, guys. Start rubbing that ego clean. That ego needs to be cleaned off. That ego needs to be balanced. That ego needs to be just as bright as your power. That ego needs to be cleansed. Normally, when I teach this in a group, we're doing this together. But because I wanted to try to teach you, I wanted you to be able to do it as much as you can. You cleanse that ego as many times as you need to. That is going to cleanse it. That is going to rebalance it. And the better balanced our chakras are, the better balanced that one is. I will tell you guys, your root chakra and your powerhouse, your solar plex chakra, they are the ones that get the most clogged and stop you in your tracks. So please go back and listen, and please go below and listen to the root chakra cleanse meditation. I say do that on my website. It's free. Click the link below and then clean your ego. And I'm telling you, sometimes, because now I've done it a million times over, I will do that before I go into like any family event, any big event, even into a grocery store, it seems now lately. Because what happens is, let's say I go into a situation or event, and I don't know what's going to happen, or I'm just a little bit fearful because I don't really want to be around all that much energy. That will immediately get my survival kind of like, ooh, tighten up some. But then that works its way up, because now that's fear coming up, and it gets into my ego. And then, guys, I'm pretty much just bulldozing people over to try to get out of there. I mean, it is not good if I do not handle my ego, because my root chakra does not run my life if it wasn't for my ego in place. You see what I'm saying? Like, it all works its way up. Yeah. So please, please, please listen to that root chakra meditation, picture that and then picture that ego in your solar plex, cleanse it. It's got to be cleansed all the time, especially if we are going to get rid of all these weird conceptions and stop. How did Carl Jung say it? He said, incapable of learning from the past, incapable of understanding contemporary events, incapable of drawing right conclusions about the future. We literally can't live life. Be that flame. Remember who we are if that ego is not balanced and cleansed all the time. Because you never know what's going to get in the mix. That's the thing too. This is not a do it once and you're good to go. You got to do it all the time because you never know what's going to be thrown in the mix. You're picking up stuff, as we're going to learn in the next episode, subconsciously, that it's a part of it and you have no idea that you even absorbed that. So once again, you can learn even more about that with the I We One series on my meditation podcast. And that is, guys, seriously, it is the Care Bear stare. It is, if we can cleanse our ego, cleanse our root chakra, not live in the fear, bring that power from Gaia, from below, up to our flame, ignite our flame, bring it up. We can also then, I swear, ladies and gentlemen, Care Bear stare, we lock arms, it would cease to be. It would cease to be. That is our powerhouse. That is very, very much our powerhouse. And anyone who studies Reiki should know that. It is where energy flows and can really operate the best. So I did want to say that I'm also going to drop a line to, if you are interested in all this stuff, Manly P. Hall is one of the best teachers that the world has ever known, like with what I'm doing here. His lectures are posted on the YouTube channel Library of Alexandra. I'm going to put a link to that as well, because if you are interested in this, listen to some old Manly P. Hall stuff. It will blow your mind. And I know we can all do it. I know we can all get there. I know this can all work out. So like I said, next episode is going to be a lot about the consciousness, the subconsciousness, and in relation to the soul, because all is mind. Lovely people. You know what the ego is. You know you don't want it to run the show anymore, because you want to live life. You want to, what did Toth say? What did he say so beautifully on page 13? Let's just end with that. I should have ended with that. Well, I'm going to end with it right now. Follow thine heart during thy lifetime. Do thou more than is commanded of thee. Follow thy heart. Do more than what is asked of you. And we really can't do that if it's our ego that's driving the car. It will always be for its own salvation, its own greed, its own everything, its own survival. We can't follow our heart if that ego is not cleansed and balanced. So, lovely people, it was good to be with you. Please practice, keep going. Baby steps. Everything is baby steps. I love you all. Until next time, namaste.